This is the podcast that we ask our guests from in front and behind the camera, how did they get their foot in the door? What was the key to unlocking their success? What's their story?
I'm too old for this shit.
Our guest today started his career as an actor, and then in the 1990s he became the highest paid screenwriter in Hollywood. He then broke into directing with Kiss Kiss Bang Bang, then onto Marvel with arguably the best Iron Man movie, and the hilarious The Nice Guys. We chat about writing Lethal Weapon at just 22, how he climbed the ranks and reached the very top in Hollywood, the truth behind The Last Action Hero, the magic of Robert Downey Jr., and working with Mark Wahlberg on his latest movie, Play Dirty. Our guest today is writer-director Shane Black.
How did you sit down and go, right, I'm gonna write a feature film in your early 20s? I mean, you obviously people knew your face from Predator, but I believe that it's kind of being in that as an actor and then Lethal Weapon, it was the same year that they were released. What
Yeah,
came
and
first?
the
Was it the
Monster Squad also, yeah.
Yeah. Was it the acting or was it the writing? What was the sort of the door into the industry, if you will?
I wanted to be looking at me now with my sort of flapping my aging gums here. It's hard to picture, but I once wanted to be an actor very much. Here's the problem. I wasn't a bad actor. I just wasn't that great. So I'll give you an example. I'd be sitting in, you know how they have the waiting room
Yeah.
to audition,
I'm an
and like
actor,
people
so
come
I know the pain
in.
that yeah.
Oh, it's terrible because you have to prepare like you have the part. You have to put all that in and then you don't get it. You're like, wow. It's
Mm.
like I got myself all, it's like falling in love only to have it torn away again and again. But beyond that, I would see other actors come in and sit down next to me, and I knew they were up for the same part. And the problem with me was I'd look at them and go, "Oh, oh, God damn it. I know that guy from, yeah, he's on that show. Oh man, he'd be great for this. He would be so good in this role." That's what the problem was. You can't think like that.
Mm.
You have to imagine that this sort of you bring something unique to the table that no one else can bring. And I seem to have more of an opportunity of at least offering even a little something distinctive when it came to writing. Also, there was a superpower involved there, which I hadn't thought of at the time as being one, which is I'd read a book every week for, since I was 8 years old.
Oh wow.
And that's a superpower. People say, I don't read books. Well, I'm telling you, it's like lifting weights. If you want to be a superhero, if you want to be a writer and you don't read except for their news feed on your Facebook, good luck.
Mm.
Because people will come to me like when you say something, oh, I saw this in your movies and I thought you do this thing so well. Say, dude, I'm just doing what Ed McBain did. I've been reading this. It's 20, by the time they say it's new in film, it's 20 years old in
Yeah.
novels, right?
Yeah.
So the superpower is to stay up on the literate side of things, read and read and read, and just acquire a facility, not just with words, but with storytelling and devices. So if you're stuck, you can go, what if I did the thing where he needs a reason to be here? What if he's waiting for a phone call? And that's the sort of through line for him. As he sits there because he's been waiting for an important phone call. It's a device, a literary device.
Mm. Yeah, it's interesting, man. Yeah, I mean, I'm dyslexic, so I don't read many books.
Oh, I'm
But
sorry. I
no,
was
no,
too.
no, no, no. But that is a very valid point, and because I've been trying to write scripts as well, and it is those I take it from film though. So I see your films and I think, oh, there's something about that has triggered a memory, or it has something else from another movie. It's people do it differently, I guess. But
Yeah,
it's really
obviously,
interesting.
no, 100%. You can get it from being an encyclopedia of film, and it seems like that's pretty much what you are. Um, but I remember a time when I read so much, my life was suffering, and so I did develop a form of like I would start to blank on reading. The words wouldn't make sense, and I think it was for me it was psychological. It wasn't actually an affliction. It was my brain saying, "Hey, you are too into this and you're neglecting your life, your parents, all this other stuff. You're getting a little too involved in this book world.
Hmm.
You're shifting away from the real world." So, boom.
Were there many books, obviously you say that you read loads of books and I'm guessing this is from, you said from 8 years old. Are there any books that really influenced you? Like there must be a few that you go, that one was really a life changer.
Um, Yeah, there was a book called Runaway Robot, which I read when I was a kid. I think was it Clifford Seamack? It may have been. I'd have to look it up. But Charlie Buckram's Tin Men, about a boy who builds these sort of tin robots that get brought to life by lightning. And this was written in like the 50s, before Short Circuit, before anything. It's a kid on a farm who suddenly has robots. These things that Ray Bradbury, anything of a collection of Bradbury's short stories, or the book Something Wicked This Way Comes, which is just a tour de force of just freeing up this sort of frightening, imaginative facility that he had, that he transfers almost, it's almost like putting a pipeline from his brain into yours. As I got older, the Parker novels I would read, the Evan Hunter, Ed McBain books. My favorite popular novel of all time is called Swan Song by Robert McCammon. If you, it's a similar in plot to The Stand by Stephen King, but
Okay.
yeah, they're both great books. But for some reason, I went to Barcelona to do a TV show as an actor, and I was thinking, yeah, I'll go see all the Gaudi architecture. I stayed in my hotel room and read Swan Song in the bathtub. I just I would just for 3 days. It's like, look, Spain. It's like, shh, quiet. I'm reading. It's like I said, the books that are dangerous because they almost drag me in like an addiction and say, outer world, forget about it, man. Come here, come into our world.
That's amazing. That's an amazing thing to have, though. It's like a comfort blanket. You can pick one up whenever you want, and you can open it, and you can go into that world. And that, for me, is what film is.
Yeah.
Just bang on a film, and then I'm in my sort of, happy place. Going from writing scripts and then writing and then directing, that step into doing that, and Kiss Kiss Bang Bang was it's one of the most memorable moments for me going to see a movie because everyone in the audience, this is like a small cinema in Surrey in Guildford in England.
Yeah.
Everyone was crying with laughter. It was packed out. And, it just felt really good to see Robert Downey Jr. in this movie that was so good because like he'd had a run of, ups and downs up until that point.
He was in the penitentiary
You
prior
know,
to that.
his character and Gay Perry are just it's amazing. You have a really brilliant knack of having two characters that are chalk and cheese and they don't get on, but somehow they need each other. And it's just so entertaining to watch.
I'm sorry, did you say talking cheese?
No, no, chalk and cheese. I don't know if is that an English saying? Maybe it is. It's basically like saying two people that are completely different. So chalk and
What?
cheese.
Oh, chalk and cheese.
Yeah,
Okay.
chalk
Okay.
and cheese. Sorry, it's the English accent.
No, it's not the accent. I don't know anyone who says chalk and cheese.
Oh, okay. Well, you can start using it now. It's
So I shall.
Is
No,
there a
but also
particular?
let's focus on Downey for a bit.
Yeah,
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 there's
sure.
fun to it, but he's a magic man.
Hmm.
Now, there's certain things that happen when you get a magic man because they get lightning in a bottle. Sometimes they're inspired by what's in the script. Sometimes they deliver it brilliantly. Sometimes it invites them to go a step further and they'll come in with an idea or a thought or bring something to it, a little spark or flash of life, because that's what we look for when you talk about these little moments. I learned that from James Brooks, who was my other mentor. You absolutely need to find those little flashpoints where you go, "Oh, what was that? I've seen that in life. I'm just not used to seeing it in movies. That really kind of flared up like, okay, that happened in my kitchen yesterday. I get it now." In the same way that a comedian invites you to say, you ever do this and this, and you go, oh my God, I never thought of it that way until this comedian framed it that way. Well, that's what Robert does. He brings sparks of life and flashes of that to a film. So when you get a magic man and then people say, well, it was a great movie, it's like, thank you. I'll take credit for basically what this guy brought to that scene because it's collaborative, but my God, is he amazing.
Hmm.
Okay, because soliloquy ended.
Well, I was going to say that when you have a scene like in Kiss Kiss Bang Bang where the character goes into an audition by accident, for anyone who hasn't seen the film, spoiler alert, and he goes into the audition and he's not auditioning, he's actually in peril, and they're like,
Yeah.
this guy's fantastic. But as an actor, you've got to go in there and you've got to basically do a really great audition. But meanwhile, the
Right. It's
character's kind
in the
of,
script.
yeah, yeah,
They're
yeah.
so blown away by his performance. So yeah, you
That's
read that and
daunting. You know you've got a magic man when they can pull that off.
yeah, pull it off and still have that little wink that shows they're aware that it's a comedy scene.
Yeah. Yeah, yeah,
I
yeah. Yeah, yeah.
I mean, look, when we were doing Kiss Kiss Bang Bang, we had 40 actresses in to read for the part of the character's girlfriend, Harmony. Um,
Yeah.
and they all read, these are some big actors from movies, TV, and I was listening to these women and it just wasn't sounding right. They weren't, so I thought, you know what? God damn it, that's me. This isn't working. Oh, I like this. This part doesn't work because I'm listening. Everyone's trying it and it's on the page. It must be wrong because it's not sounding good. It's not sounding funny. And then Michelle Monaghan walked in, read for 3 minutes and go, oh, fuck, it's not me. She's
Mm,
got it.
mm.
And I called the producer. I said, come here. We found her. She wasn't in the room, but I said, like, Joel, you remember what I just said about how we can't find anybody? Come here. And she just got it. And you know, when that hits, that someone just found that kindredness.
Mm.
And yeah, you get lucky. I got lucky on that movie.
Was there a reason that I mean, obviously, by writing a script, you've got the control of when you're writing it, but then going and directing it as well, you've obviously got the full control as long as there's no sort of interference. Did you go into directing because you wanted to follow through from the writing all the way to the finished product?
Yeah, I think so. I think I wanted to make sure that it just unfolded without the glitches I would see and things I'd written of, oh, yeah, I wouldn't have played it that way. You know, some of the movies were great, but every once in a while there'd be one I go, ooh, uh, not because I'm this greedy writer who says, how dare you move him off the steps? In the script, he was standing on the steps. I'm not that guy. But I would just say, I wish I could sort of tonally massage this scene, for instance. It was never the whole movie. It was all these just little bits. Also, think about what being a writer is. It's the most difficult. It's like, pulling out on nostril hairs. Uh, and then at the end of it, you just go back to the blank page and you start over. Where's the payoff? Where's the part that we call fun?
Mm,
The social part, which allows you to interact and feel like, you've gotten out of your house or off your couch or, that's what directing was. It's a social thing which demands that you utilize a whole new set of skills. And so I was anxious to do a social thing that let me keep going and have some fun.
mm,
Because when like, for instance, I got a movie coming out. This comes out in 2 weeks or whatever, or a week. Then I got to go back to the blank page again. I want to delay that as long as humanly possible
mm,
and work on something. The edit room is where it, for me is at. That's just, it's like I had this guy down the street at midnight. His garage door is always open. He's in there working on a car and like we're all cursing him. But now I understand because when you're editing a movie, I understand that the time goes by and you're just doing your car. You're
mm,
playing with the spark plugs and you look up and go, oh, do I have to stop now? So that's where it's at for me.
mm, mm. Yeah, I can imagine it's finished. You've got everything in front of you and it's sort of tweaking everything else. And I know from just trying to write scripts myself that the blank page is the scariest thing and you feel like you're in a fog of I don't know what I'm doing, what the aim is, the writing, it's just you go a bit mad. So when that blank page comes, it must be,
Well, for me
always
especially,
daunting.
I have this tremendous case of imposter syndrome, which is that every time I sit and the rust sort of has collected, it takes a week to get rid of the rust. But in the meantime, I think I can't. What am I thinking? I've written my last funny line. I don't know how to do this. How did I do that before? I don't know. Maybe it was a fluke because I sure don't have any talent now. They're going to find out, you know, they're going to realize that I'm all over the map. And by the way, it's true. Sometimes I am bad up until the middle, and I say this isn't working, and start over, and then it gets good. But it has to wait for something to click, and until then, it's a leap of faith. I'm being bad. I'm a bad writer right now. I can't make this work, and it seems impossible. And then an answer comes.
Mm.
And the unfortunate thing is, it's impossible, truly impossible, right up until the second that it's not. And then suddenly it's easy.
Do you have advice for, writers that are trying to get their foot in the door, trying to get their script read, if they haven't got an agent or they're just, struggling. Sounds like I'm
Yeah.
just asking this question for myself,
No,
but
no, no, no. Look, I'm sure you have representation, right?
as an actor, I do, not as a writer, but
No, is it right?
trying.
Oh, okay.
I'm
Well,
trying.
just tell him you're Paul McCartney's son. You kind of look like Paul.
I could get away with it, just do the Liverpool accent.
Yeah. Wow. Well, first off, the advice, this doesn't really help in a way, but it does because the people who are thinking about getting an agent and really focusing on that, um, the a great actor once said, "Be so good they can't ignore you," and that's really it.
Mm,
Also, I know people they've written the script and they say, "Hey, I want to sell this," and I read it. Yeah, it's okay. Give them some notes. Then 5 years later, I say, "How's it going?" They said, "Well, I'm still working on selling that script." I go, "The same one.
mm,
Did you write anything else?" "No, I'm just trying to sell this one." I say, "Dude, when they come to you, when opportunity meets preparation, it means they say, someone says, "Do you have anything?" And you have to have three pieces of your best work ready. You can't, um, you don't get to be an actor by putting your face in Faces International magazine and then waiting for the phone to ring. You have to keep working. And when you're working, here's a piece of advice. Make every day the same if you can. I know sometimes people work, they have to snatch an hour here or, a couple minutes there. And so it's piecemeal. The writing process is when they can, not when they want to.
mm,
But if you can take 6 days or 7 days of uninterrupted time and start each day breakfast, do this, do that, go to the store, come back, write 5 pages of gibberish, sort of boil it down, then do this, stop, eat, watch a show on TV, come back, look at it again now with fresh eyes, print it out, read it, scribble on it with a red pen, set it aside, go back, do something else, come back and write 2 pages after dinner, and then stop and say, I'm going to do this exact same thing tomorrow.
mm.
You don't have to eat the same breakfast, but go to the same restaurant. Do the
Yeah.
same routine until your body learns, until your uh, somatics
Mm, mm,
kick in and say, this is what we're doing now, guys. We write from here to here, and then we eat, and there's a little reward here for a cigarette, and then and so on and so on. But make every day the same.
mm.
As far as getting an agent, I'll tell you how I did it. As I had friends, oddly, given my penchant for um, personality disorder, but I had a lot of misfit friends that all who sort of got together and met at this one house we called the Pad. And there was a sign outside, a neon sign that we would light up, said 20, open 24 hours. And if the sign was on, something was up. We were making a film or arguing over a movie or watching something late at night. And when one of us would succeed, we'd reach down the ladder and sort of help someone and sort of leapfrog them up. And then they would get an agent and they'd say, oh, and they'd help someone else in the group.
Ah, okay.
And we sort of, barrel of monkeys that all the way into representation and then eventually films having been produced. But it was because we were friends before any of that. We
Mm,
didn't get together to use each other to be in the business. We got together out of a mutual love of the same kinds of movies, endless discussions, endless experiments, endless little short skits. And out of that came this sort of selfless ability. Like if a friend of mine would say to me in the group, "Hey, can I borrow that bit you had with it?" I'd say, "Sure. Yeah, I'm going to put it in my script." Good. Not, "I'm going to sue you." None of that.
yeah.
And the friendship first, movie second model seemed to really have some juice to it. It seemed to really succeed where, uh, blind ambition and just going up to people, "Hi, would you read my script? Hi, would you read my script?" You go to a film festival and some asshole film professor somewhere has said to the student, "Be persistent. Never say no. Just be persistent." So by the time they ask you the fifth time, you go, okay, not only has this persistence evolved into belligerence, the result of which is I would never, if you tortured me, make this man's film or read his script. But this poor guy thinks that this is selling himself. This poor guy thinks that persistence means like, oh, there's one writer, I got to tell you this, who it was Christmas and he sent out gift boxes with ribbons on them to every lit agent in town. And they thought, well, that's a good idea, right? They opened the gift and it was a script.
Oh wow.
I guarantee you that man never worked again because that is the absolute wrong way to do it.
Yeah.
Interest in other people, the ability to sort of, when you're talking to someone, it's not just about ticking off a box on your daily persistence and or belligerence calendar. It's seeing who you're talking to. And, William Goldman published a letter. He said, I replied to this letter. Look how it's written. And he published this letter a nobody fan had written him that was just so eloquent and moving that he had to read the guy's script. Use your words, be a writer. Use what you have. Don't use there's not networking and then there's being a good writer. Being a good writer extends to the way you present yourself, the way you conduct yourself in the context of being a writer. You know, people who are good writers can be obnoxious, but at some level they get to be persuasive. They have to be. And persuasive is not just blindly throwing scripts at people and honking until someone out of just sheer frustration reads the first page before discarding your script.
I won't send you a Christmas present this year then.
No. Oh, send me a scarf. I'll take it.
Yeah.
I like Burberry. Yeah.
You mentioned a while back about imposter syndrome. I mean, a lot of people in the industry have that. I certainly have it. When you came to sell, you had various scripts, and it was the highest sold script in Hollywood at the time, I believe, with The Long Kiss Goodnight. But before that,
Was the last Boy Scout.
The
Yeah.
Last Boy Scout, and you had those two films back to back. Did you still have syndrome after that, even though, there's
Even
this.
worse. Even worse.
Wow.
Um, and added to the imposter syndrome was a degree of sort of animosity, if not outright scorn, from members of the writing community who up till then had been very friendly and supportive
Oh, wow.
because they couldn't, that was the one bridge too far was this kid,
Hmm.
22, 23, 24 years old, who was making the kind of money they'd striven to for so long. For instance, and I'm not a victim here. Let me just get that straight. I'm not the hero of any story I tell.
Hmm.
At best, I'm the second banana, you know. A friend of mine, Dale Lawner, who wrote My Cousin Vinny, he called me up and said, "Hey, you ever want to get in the Academy? You want to, vote on the Oscars? Because you have to be sponsored in."
Hmm.
I said, "Sure." He said, "Okay, let me get somebody and we'll sponsor you in." So they filled out the form and sent my application. And at the time, the qualification for entering the Academy at that time, I believe, was you had to have at least two uh, produced works of substantive merit. And I had Last Action Hero, Lethal Weapon 2, Last Boy Scout, Long Kiss Goodnight. And they sent back a letter that said, "We don't think you're appropriate for the Academy at this time, but you're free to reapply when you have more credits."
What?
Yeah, it was just the writer's branch saying,
Wow, that's wild.
yeah. And I think that's what triggered, in a way, me not feeling comfortable working for a couple of years too,
Hmm.
was I realized, oh shit, I thought this was kind of a good thing. But not only was The Long Kiss Goodnight a bomb, but the act of selling it for the amount of money it did had made people regard me as a hack of some sort, as though I'm not in it to tell a story, as though I'm like, let's throw as much populist shit at the screen as we can and run off with as much money as we can possibly steal. And that wasn't what I was about.
Hmm.
So the idea that I had become a poster boy for this, what at the time was a remarkable phenomenon, the spec script boom, but was looked at by people as greed. You know, I
Yeah.
always want to call them up and say, "So if someone offered you $1 million for your script, you'd say, no, I have more integrity than that." Like, even if you like the script. So
Man,
but
that's tough.
mm,
I mean, The Long Kiss Goodnight,
I am not a victim in the story. I tell the story as a interesting aside, but I'm not mad.
it
I'm
doesn't
not
make it
complaining.
not tough though. I think that's still a weird contradiction. You think, as you say, you think, oh, this is a good thing, this is success, and in a way, it is a really good thing. But then there's a weird kind of backlash. It's a kind of strange.
Backlash, yeah.
Yeah.
So I don't know. My default is to curl up and become one of those little water bugs when you when you flick them and they roll into a little ball, it looks like a little armadillo. And that's what I would do is
Mm,
say, I'm retreating. I'm not, I can't, I can't fight back against feeling like, I don't know, like I didn't fit in with the writers that I community anymore. And I
mm,
wanted to be part of a community.
mm.
I didn't want to be the outsider.
What do you do when that happens in terms of, is there like a coping mechanism? As you mentioned when you're writing that it's good to have a structure and have, the same thing every day. But when you're
Mhm.
in between those jobs or you're not writing a script and you're trying to sort of, being freelance, sometimes you go a bit mad, don't you? Do you have things that you do that kind of keep you
I'll
feeling
tell you
good,
what,
upbeat, and
I listen to music, I exercise, but the process in between is basically hysterical malaise and panic. And here's the thing. So when you start writing again, it's because you've reached a point where you cannot justify even remotely postponing writing for one more day. You've stretched it to the limits of just how far you will do without absolutely feeling self-humiliated. If you delay even a fraction further, this is the ultimate, the extent, the envelope beyond which lies humiliation and distress and despair because I can't write. You go up to that point, and then about 3 weeks later, you start writing. So that's the way it goes.
you go past it, and then you're like, oh my God.
Yeah, it gets worse and then worse. And then
Mm,
finally you start, and the rust takes about a week to come off, and you think, am I doing this right? Am I a hack? Am I, who wants to read this shit? And that's what really is, isn't it? You just write out of fear until problem solving becomes more important. You're like, I hate this writing. I can't do this. Well, no, there's a funny line. Fuck that. Oh, yeah. Boo. And then it's pretty soon, you're like, I, I'm still bad, but what? Wait. Well, okay. I don't know. What if he said this there? No. Oh, I know. If he said that, he would say that. Okay. No. Oh, no, no. So let's put it over here. They go behind the fence, and he says this, and he. Okay. No, that actually worked. And before you know it, fear has become problem solving. You just dangle it in front of you. So you still hate yourself. You're still feeling like you're a bad writer and you're terrified. And then you suddenly realize, oh, I'm doing it. Oh, I've started writing.
mm.
And it's just that mental trickery that makes this whole process so difficult, as I'm sure you know.
Well, yeah, not like but I'm trying my best. And it blows my mind that you still have that doubt when you start a script now. That blows my mind.
Oh, especially when you're dealing with the generation of kids now that's, almost twice removed from when I started. So um, I think a good story is timeless, but there are things nowadays where you look around and go, am I going to be relevant to these kids with their noses in their phones 24/7 and this sort of, blip bite mentality and attention span?
Oh man, 100%. That's the thing. I mean, I'm not young anymore. I'm nearly 40. But my generation obviously adore all of your movies, and even my nephew who's a lot younger, like he's get the Nice Guys was something that he was watching the other day and he was laughing. He's so much younger than me. I think that kind of thing is timeless, and that's the beautiful thing about film. If films can kind of
And I think you're right. And I also think that for some reason, there's something about that period in the 80s that keeps coming back. The fact that after 20, 25 years, The Monster Squad was rediscovered as a cult film. They still show Long Kiss Goodnight, Last Boy Scout. They show them in midnight movies.
mm,
So the ones that didn't make money for me end up being midnight movies, which is a kind of a dubious distinction. The king of the cult midnight film, that didn't make any money when it came out. Um,
but they're
I'm
bangers
okay with
now.
that. Look, I'm okay that they lasted long enough for someone to see them 20 years, 30 years later. That's insane to me. And it's because I sat in front of a typewriter, terrified. And the trick is you just start and you go until something to your brain becomes momentarily more interesting than your own fear.
Hmm.
Because your brain can't hold terror and interest and curiosity at the same time, right? So You just keep going through the fear until you get interested in something and your brain just sort of goes there. And that process has served me well, whether the movies are successful or not.
Can I ask about The Last Action Hero? I know there's a lot of writers involved and there's kind of strange stories about that movie, but it is one of my absolute favorite films. I watched it on a loop on VHS when I was a kid. What was the experience? I mean, obviously that was a huge budget film. It's an Arnold movie. What was the process of writing and sort of
It
working
was
on
fun at first. My partner David Arnott and I took over from a script that pre-existed. That was a spec script by I think it was Adam Leff and Zach Penn. Is that
Zach
right?
Penn? Yeah, yeah. Adam Left and Zach Penn. Yeah.
And who are good writers. And we tried a version, but the thing is, that was back when the key, according to a studio, to a successful movie was to put it through 10 different typewriters. And they said, well, we're still not sure, so let's have Carrie Fisher do a draft. Really? Why? Well, we just want to make sure the women's touch is covered. Let her run it through the typewriter. That was my favorite experience. Just run it through your typewriter. Okay. And then other writers, William Goldman came on, who was my mentor, who I loved. But there were so many fingers in that pie and so many conflicting ideas. Um, I mean, I know that people liked the movie, but it was the only time I'd been to a premiere. And they had a giant carnival set up with a 50-foot tall Arnold balloon and rides and games and movie themed attractions and we all sat down to watch the movie in the giant theater in Westwood. There's this huge hush when the lights went up, there was also a huge hush. And
Wow.
everyone just sort of filed out quietly and went to the carnival. And it
Wow.
was real. It was like, oh my God, I've never seen people just sort of come out of a movie more, uninspired and then just go have drinks and sort of lamely participate in carnival rides. It was shocking to me.
That's crazy though, because that film has got a huge following now, and maybe it was something to do with the fact that Arnold had just had T2, and that was like the biggest movie ever, and then everyone was waiting for that next thing, and it wasn't anything really like T2, but I prefer it. It's my all-time favorite Arnold movie. I
Wow,
don't get why people don't like it. I
I
just don't
do.
get it. What is it that
It's way too meta and intelligent for its own good, and I think it violates its own rules because the movie's about going to the world of a movie. So when you go into that reality, the characters will be the characters they are on screen. So if a guy works for the police force, you go in there and you'll be part of that police force. But instead, the movie posits this movie universe where when you go into the screen, all of a sudden Sharon Stone walks by in her character. Now you're in all movies at once. And I thought, that's okay. I guess that costs a lot of money to get those people and do movie world. But aside from the spectacle of it, it just didn't seem very logical to me.
Oh man, as a kid, it was just amazing seeing the Terminator walk past Arnold as a different character, and then Sharon Stone, then a cartoon cat, and then it was like, this is the best film ever made. So, but I
The
just,
cartoon cat was a good conceit. I thought that was in the original script because in that world, it was possible to have one cartoon sidekick. And you would just go, what do you mean he's a cartoon?
mm.
Oh, yeah, he's a cartoon cat. What's your point? Because in that universe, it's consistent.
Now for a quick break. We'll be back to the episode shortly. If you enjoyed this episode and want to support us, get early access and exclusive content and episodes, click to join our YouTube channel and become a member now.
Please leave us a positive rating. Add us on Instagram, Twitter, TikTok at Life in Film Pod. Essentially, please like and subscribe everything. It makes a huge difference. Thank you. Life in Film has partnered with Betterhelp to provide you with access to the largest online therapy service in the world. And it can all be done from the comfort of your own home, from a phone, tablet or laptop. No commute, cutting down travel costs, and most importantly, it's affordable. With over 1,000 therapists in the UK, BetterHelp can provide access to mental health professionals with a wide variety of expertise in mental health. If you need someone to talk to and you're thinking of giving therapy a go, BetterHelp is a great option. And being a listener of the podcast, you get 10% off. That's 10% off your first month at betterhelp.com/lifeinfilm.
That's betterhelp.com/life and film. We are sponsored by movieposters.com. Are you a movie fan? I presume you are. Well, at movieposters.com, you can shop for all your favourite posters in one place. The #1 source for high quality, authentic movie posters. From new releases to cult classics and 100% authentic originals. Thinking of having a browse? Well, if you see a poster that tickles your fancy, as a listener of the podcast, you get 10% off. That's 10% off with promo code LifeandFilm10. That's promo code LifeandFilm10. So why not give it a go? And back to the show.
So much fun. I had so much fun with this. Every time one of your movies comes out and I see your name on the poster, I'm all in. I'm a big fan. How did this project come about? Because I hear and when you look these things up, you never know what's true and what's not. But this is based on a series of books, I believe, and the character of Parker is something that you were reading the books when you were younger. Is this true?
Yeah, I mean it's the Parker books, but it's also the author Donald Westlake, right, who writes the Parker books under a pseudonym because Westlake is primarily known for, in the 60s and the 50s even, he was writing these sort of comic capers, funny books, and I remember seeing a passage on the front of the book. It said, "The Mad Jester of the Mystery World." That's how he was known. So when he wanted to sort of put a spin on that, and it was supposed to be a fun spin, but he went tough and he dug a little darker to find the sort of psyche of a career criminal, a absolute entrepreneur. And he used the name Richard Stark to pen those particular books. I read all of Westlake. I was a fan since I was 12. So when an opportunity came to, I mean, it's interesting. We not only got options on all of the books available, so we could pick and choose. We didn't have to select just one little, because they're pretty thin. You read them like popcorn, right? But we could use all of them. And it was also the first movie where we got to call the character Parker because he's been incarnated throughout the years with Lee Marvin, with Mel Gibson, with Robert Duvall, with Jason Statham, under all kinds of different names.
Yeah, I saw that. That's funny, isn't it? How this is the first time. Was that a licensing thing that they weren't allowed to use the name or?
Yeah, that's right. That's right. So, I mean, it's kind of the DNA of what I cut my teeth on, that sort of weird semi-satiric but hard-hitting style that could poke fun at things, but was ultimately just rooted in character reality. And I always loved it. So, and of course, now I had guys on my side too. I had Anthony Bagarozzi, who I wrote The Nice Guys with, and I had Chuck Mondry, who I almost got a movie going called The Cold Boyer with. So they said, well, we love Parker. Everyone loves, who doesn't love Parker? So I had to rope them in and we had to do this just because that sitting out back on my patio and just hashing it out that's the process. And with these two guys who I've known for 40 years, it just feels like what they say about being paid to do what you would do anyway. So that's great.
Was there any more pressure because it was a character that you were already familiar with, something that you obviously grew up with? Is there like a pressure there, or is it just fun to be able to sort of delve into a character that you already kind of know?
Well, there is pressure, but the pressure is not, it's sort of internal. It's like, okay, we got this. How do I do this and justify that there's a reason to make this movie as yet another iteration? So it should be slightly different from the ones that came before it. I think that you'll notice when you see the movie, one of the big differences is the scale of it. We just upped the scale of the heist because any individual book in the Parker series is like knocking over a diner or going up against, this hitman they don't like, or, armored car robbery, those sorts of things. And cinematically, we thought, yeah, we love this character. We could mine all the books, but we were pretty emphatic that we had to come up with our own score, that we had to plan a heist that was sort of a little more large and intricate. but that had the flavor and the little and the tick the boxes of the classic Westlake tropes, like the art heist or the South American dictator who's, sends mercenaries to retrieve it, that sort of thing.
100%. Well, no, I was lucky enough they sent me a copy of the film, so I've seen it and I loved it, man. It had your
Nice. Well,
stamp on
thank you.
it, and man, the dialogue. I don't understand how every film that you do that has action, which is most of them has, a serious action sequences in. Your action is different. You bring comedy and you bring like with this film, there's moments where you're like, how did you come up with something so interesting? Is that something that is kind of done on the day, or do you put that into the script? The little details, the nuances of that funny element of comedy and action put together.
I like to think that you just keep working on the script and keep detailing, like you would detail a car and you add those little bits, but they're all predicated on something which you mentioned, which is the same thing. It's often it's the idea of awkward violence.
Yeah.
That violence seldom plays out in the sort of balletic, three twists in the air, hero landing that it does in the more balletic films like, say, I have nothing wrong with John Wick. I love the John Wick stuff, but it's played a bit broader and over the top, and it's supposed to be beautiful. It's supposed to be graceful.
Mm.
And to me, that you take a character who's sort of a blue collar version of that, like Parker, you want to emphasize that, real life, you get shot, you fall on your ass and you shit yourself and you go, what the fuck just happened? I mean,
Yeah.
it's not this, yeah. So that's the kind of thing we like to do is try to imagine it in real time. And the first, if there's a couple examples of this, one I can think of off the top of my head was 3 Days of the Condor. There's a scene where the mailman comes in with a package and he looks at his shoes and realizes this guy's not a mailman. And they both realize it at the same time and they go at each other.
Mm.
And that scene is so clumsy
Mhm.
that it feels twice as dangerous.
100%, 100%. Yeah, like with a lot of your films, I mean, like Kiss Kiss Bang Bang, there's so many nice little moments, and yeah, the nice guys. But Kiss Kiss Bang Bang, not to go off on a tangent, but little things like, when he pees on the dead body and he's
Yeah.
like, "Why did you pee on the dead body?" And it's like, it's just such funny little moments that don't necessarily need to be there, but they add so much value in terms of humor. And this film had all of that in it too. So just I love that because I know when I go and see one of your movies that there's going to be those little surprises that pop up, and I really enjoy that. But in terms of, Mark Wahlberg is the lead in this. What was the process of, getting him involved and really getting this film kind of off the ground and greenlit?
Well, um, when Wahlberg came on board, he'd had a chance to read, and oddly, he does this odd thing where he memorizes the script. So he'll show up and I'll go, yeah, I love this scene where he says, and he'll just rattle off the lines. You go, this is kind of like our first meeting. You didn't really just commit the thing to memory already, did you? Because of course it did. So it's he had this enthusiasm for it and a desire to play it, um, a desire to play it straight.
Mm.
If it was going to have ironic moments in it, if it was going to have sort of the weird, awkward sort of uh, violent moments, and if it was going to feel at all satiric, all that stuff would have to be centered around a character that took this extraordinarily seriously because Parker is basically a tactician. He's not very emotional. And I sat down with Mark and we played a game, the writers and I, sort of centered around Mark, which is to say, let's imagine in one of these stories that Parker seems to fall in love. Like you think, oh my God, is this impenetrable guy finally actually showing a sentiment for someone? And he falls in love with this girl, but he also puts his hand on her pocketbook and you realize he made a mistake because he's left his fingerprints, which could come back later to haunt him. So at the end of the story, we say to Mark, if you were to go back at the end to save that girl, not leave her behind, but really compromise and rush to go back, are you going back because of the girl? Because you're sentimental? Or are you going back because she has that pocketbook you need to retrieve
Mm.
with your fingerprints on it? So as long as you can ask those questions, that's the essence of it. What is he thinking? What is he doing? Um, one of the advantages of the movie version of Parker is in the books, you get that whole thought process.
Mhm.
But in the movies, you get to ask a couple questions like, why, what was he thinking? Why? And then hopefully reveal, oh my God, that's what he's been thinking all along. This wasn't about this. It was about something different that applies to his code of conduct. Yeah, Mark came in and made it his own. We don't really write for an actor. I
Mm.
mean, I don't know about you. If you read a paperback novel, I don't know if you're picturing, Paul Newman or someone or Leonardo DiCaprio. To us, when I read a book, I'm just picturing this weird sort of
Mm.
amalgam of all the sort of male or female archetypes that fit this particular character. And so Mark takes the script, which we've written essentially for Parker, not for anyone else, and he makes it his own. And that's the process. The first draft becomes ours. The second draft is where the actor starts to make it his own.
No, no, that makes sense. It's funny, isn't it? If you read the main thing I can think of, because they made obviously films out of it, was you read Harry Potter, then you see the film, and you're like, well, that's not what I thought he looked like. And then when you read the books again, you're like, I can't think of anyone else but Daniel Radcliffe. It's kind of he's replaced, you know?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, like when I was first starting out and writing Lethal Weapon, I didn't have anyone resembling Mel Gibson in mind. But by the time I'm writing Lethal Weapon 2, he's right there, like
Mm, mm, mm.
participating mentally. Um,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
but Mark was Mark really delivered, I thought. He was really something.
No, he's brilliant, man. I mean, he's always brilliant. And I mean, this film, the way it starts, and I think with a lot of your movies, there's a grab straight away. And the beginning of this film, I don't want to give anything away, but you're like, holy shit, what is going on here? And then the credits roll, and you're like, I am fully in. When you're putting together a script and you're thinking, okay, I need to grab the audience, I need something. What is the process of, is there a lot of pacing when you're trying to come up with a kind of, an exciting first couple of scenes?
Well, it's a tactic, I think, that is starting out as a writer. Any writer knows this, that, a development executive in Hollywood, they take 7 scripts home for the weekend, and they have to read them all and report by Monday. So if you don't hook them within 10, 12 pages, they're just going to I mean, what are you thinking? You think they're going to participate in your 30-page, densely written world building experiment when they have to, finish 7 other scripts? No. So you have to find a way, even if you're world building, to do it in a way that's user friendly and hooks them. Any writer, even unless you're James Joyce, you have a, you have an understanding, I think, as a popular novelist, or in this case, a popular screenwriter, to give the audience um, an excuse to feel like they're in good hands and it's moving and they're in and you confide and you draw them in. William Goldman was one of my mentors. He was a delightful guy, man. And he used to talk about, the characters in his books or in his movies. When he writes a screenplay, not only does it feel novelistic, it feels like he's talking to you like you're a guy at a bar stool next to him. He said, and if you think that was, wait, and this guy, now you might think he's this. I tell you what, he's better than that. In fact, we're not even going to talk about him because we're not going to talk about this guy who's twice as good as the other one. And he does this kind of
Mm-mm.
dance with words. And I think you're obligated to give people in that first 10, 12 minutes something to hang on to. Also, a producer I worked with for a long time once said, you got to have what's called the whammo meter, which means every 10 minutes or so, you got to give people a jolt. This is actually Joel Silver on Lethal Weapon and Last Boy Scout.
Mm,
Too many pages go by where it's just talking heads, and that you can do that. If the ideas are great, you can do it.
mm,
But ultimately, you want every 10 pages or so in a thriller to provide some thrills or some danger,
mm,
or a revelation, or a reversal. Or if you've set something off, you want a payoff. So they go, oh, shoot, that, of course, he says it here, but I should have known. I heard that earlier. But these are tricks that you employ every 10 pages or so in order to get people along for the ride, to make them feel like they're in good hands, experiencing.
mm.
Uh, it's like you're a trickster. You're trying to get people you're trying to fool people and have them enjoy being fooled.
Oh man, thank you for indulging me and just chatting away and Shane, it's an absolute honor, man. You're an absolute legend to me. So thanks for taking the time. I really
Oh, no, no, no. I'm a bloviating old fool. But and I leave it to you, by the way, to the up and comers to roll your own here and continue the tradition. If you believe in this kind of storytelling, and you're one of the lights who still has the opportunity to bring it forward to this new phone hugging generation.
Yeah, it's scary, man. It is scary. It's changed a lot even for me and in the acting world, like going to auditions and seeing how like social media is kind of taken over and you only get a role if you've got this many followers. It's nuts.
Yeah, yeah. We were planning a big movie at one point. I remember, and someone we were looking to get this actor who was a big actor, and they came in and said, "Well, guys, the studio said we have this other idea. There's this guy, he has 60 million followers. He's a football player.
Hmm.
He's a wide receiver." And I thought, has he acted before? No, but let us show you these insurance commercials he did. He's kind of funny. And I thought, oh, is this where we are? Is this where we
Sometimes it works. Sometimes it doesn't.
followers may have a part in this, I suppose. You
Yeah.
should take, but I don't have Instagram.
Good for you, man. I did check because otherwise I'd be following you, but sadly not. If you ever come on, I will be following you. But yeah, Sean,
Thank you.
thanks so much, man. And all the best with the film. It's wicked. Really enjoyed it.
Oh man, thank you. Tell a friend.
I will do. I will do. Take care. All the best.
All right, you too, Betty. Take care.
If you enjoyed this episode and you want to support us, get early access and exclusive content, all ad-free, click and join the Life in Film YouTube channel and become a member now. Thank you to our guest Shane, and thank you to Greg at Empirical. As always, thank you to our sponsors, movieposters.com and Betterhelp.